Yes, we think that at this time we could be able to say what we are thinking about some things. We say it all the day. Maybe if people have something to share with us.
Yes, of course. If there are any basic comments or based on what you've heard today, or conclusions, or any open questions, we can discuss these as well. So maybe we start with that point, and we'll give the floor to whoever has anything to add. And Sweden will start.
Thank you very much. I must say that first of all, I'm really happy that this meeting came about and that we have had this meeting. I've been rather worried when I tried to read and even more tried to understand the data specifications about the situation that we are in. But I've been also sort of moving to the positive side, listening to Kathy and your own presentation, Mr. Chairman, about the water development, and really looking at that kind of developments is really crucial and very, very important. Let me start by describing my situation, really. I am responsible for the INSPIRE implementation at the Swedish EPA. I think we are number 2 in Europe, according to, if you look at in the reporting obligation database that Daria talked about. I think we have 350 reportings to do. I don't know if it's each year, but on the list there's 350 reportings. Let's say that 100, about something like that, are about data reporting, and 10, 15, 20 of these reportings are so important that we have built information systems for that kind of reporting. So when you say easily, we just adapt the reporting, it's not that easy. We have to adapt our reporting systems in the countries in order to sort of comply with the demands from the Commission. And in that process, I want to be completely sure that the Commission speaks with one tongue, one voice, that you have sort of coordinated this INSPIRE implementation process with the thematic groups who has sort of ordered us or helped us or whatever, told us how to build our information systems earlier. And in the years to come then, we have to adapt those reporting systems, information systems I would love to call them, to the INSPIRE demands. And for that we need money. And I think that Sweden will have to ask the Ministry of the Environment, can you sort of supply the money in order to do this? In order to get that money, to be on the right track for that kind of discussion, I would love to have some kind of consequence analysis from you. I mean, you have, for water and air quality, you have shown slides that really show the results of the mapping. You could sort of summarize that into 1 or 2 pages and tell us this is the sort of changes that you have to carry out in your national information systems. And with that kind of information, we could sort of bring it up to the budgetary people in Sweden and say, okay, let's now take the next step. That's my proposal, that you do that for all the thematic areas that we do have specifications for. I realize that that might be tough for some of them, but I think that the process, if you fail, then write that down and say that we are not ready yet. We do have a couple of years to go. I hope that didn't sort of end up in some kind of negative mode. I still am very, very positive to the meeting, and I really hope that this can be accomplished. Thank you.
Thanks very much. I think that's definitely a good point. On the other hand, I'm not sure on how feasible it is for all the reporting obligations to do this kind of analysis, and I'm not sure how much it is the task of INSPIRE as a group or initiative to do that. I don't know, Hugo, if you have some thoughts on that.
Well, it makes perfect sense to do such a thing. It's not an easy task. You remember the SAIS basis project, where we really went through all the directives, identified all the spatial objects in all these directives, and then looked also at what spatial objects were part of reporting obligations or not, and where overlaps existed. Because indeed we wanted to establish some kind of an overview of what data is available, fit for what particular purpose, including reporting. We may have a look at what we have learned there, kind of dig that back up, and see what cost implications are. Now, I think we also need to present together with the amendment by the end of the year information on the costs and the efforts needed to implement this. And the colleagues have been working on a number of voluntary contributions and also asking still continuously, I think, for input from the member states. So that can also help to document at least partially the picture. A full comprehensive analysis, it's something that we indeed could plan and which we probably also need to do when in 2014 we need to prepare the report for the Parliament and Council on the implementation of the INSPIRE directive. But to have that already ready within the next few months, I think it could be difficult, Bernd.
Thank you. So, first, some minutes ago, a colleague asked me if I was optimistic about this day and the results of this day, and my answer is yes. I'm quite optimistic because what we saw is not only presentation; it's a move toward a good direction from December to March, and so thank you for this evolution in your mind, maybe in fact in specification. After I have 3 points I have to talk about and a comment. The point are the sort of French position. First, we absolutely need to be able to distinguish between station approved by the state members and the others, because we will put on the web many data, reporting data from environmental facilities, and we have absolutely the need to be able to say this is an agreed network and this is not an agreed network by the state member. So as we saw that there is no more quality metadata in specification about EF, maybe we can add a metadata about agreed by the state member or not. Because I know there is a responsible party, legal obligation and so on, but it's not sufficient to be able to share what is agreed and what is not. And tomorrow, with crowdsourcing on many municipalities initiatives, on open data initiatives, we fear that we will be overwhelming by data. So that's the first point. Secondly, we agree to use the international standard observation and measurement for observation in INSPIRE. But this should lead to use the standard for data sharing of all this type of data in the European Union, and therefore its inclusion to field system of the European Agency for Environment, EA. This will lead to adapt existing reporting models to an overall cost reduction of implementation. So it's not only MS which have to change the system. You too, in European Commission on EA, you have to adapt your system on WISE, for example. We talk about that in France, and the result of the talk is each producer will have to change his structure of data in 7 years, for example. And we agree that for reporting, or sort of reporting, when we have to report data for state of environment, in 7 years we are able to change our systems to send data to you. But the third point is, for us, it's not a technical point. It is essential to save the human and budgetary resources of state members, which are at the breaking point. It's very important in the mind of my colleagues in France. So, the French stakeholders express a general rejection of the double burden imposed on non-alignment tools of European level with Inspire tools. So, our mind is, we are okay to put observations in on network services on the web, not only for European level, but too for public authorities, for municipalities, regions, countries of our neighborhood. But it's impossible to, in the next years, to be able to defend in front of our government, to be able to put data on a model at left, on data on the other model, at right. Please, you have to adapt your systems to Inspire network services to be able to to cut cost. At least the comment is about maintenance. I saw a slide of Wanda on the beginning of the day about maintenance between Inspire and thematic directives. I don't believe at all it could be possible to manage a sort of synchronization between Inspire and directive thematic, because we said it at the regulation committee. We have to manage legal stability of the legal status of Inspire regulation. If we have to do investments about information systems, we have to say to all public authorities, you are okay for 5 or 10 years. If we have to change models, rules, each 2 years, everybody will wait the next regulation act to do the job. So it's a major risk for Inspire to have a connection between evolution of the thematic directive and evolution, maintenance of rules in Inspire field. So we would like to show the good example. The good example is what I saw about air quality or flood directive today. If I'm okay with air quality reporting, I'm okay with Inspire. If I do the job for Inspire, I've done half the job for flood directive. So I make a move, and it afford me to cost cut for the second move. I don't know if I'm clear, but that's the general comment. Don't try to link maintenance of directives thematics field and Inspire maintenance.
Thanks very much, Wanda. I mean, by the way, I'm trying to paraphrase what you're saying. So if you're not happy with what I'm writing down, please let me know.
Yeah. Just coming to your last point, when I say big relationship for the maintenance, I don't want to say with that we are going to change the implementing rule of Inspire, but Inspire has the implementing rule which we want to get stable. That's why we have the data model that goes to the implementing rule, and the technical guidelines where the extensions are explained. And we know that in the technical guidelines, as it is now already, we have a clear distinction between requirements that goes to the implementing rule and recommendations that stays as they are in the technical guidelines without any legal consequence, also for Inspire. We know that those things by nature, although they are recommendations, there are the ones that they cannot go into the legislation because they can change often. And one reason to change can be the technical developments, but also can be requirements for thematic legislation that wants to add something else or to change something else. So in that sense, the maintenance is necessary for the technical guidelines. It's necessary also to correct what will may become obvious that should change, because from the implementation aspect, let's say experience, we realize that something should be changed, but without necessarily to have influence on the legal aspect. So, and I think also another argument to justify why this collaboration is important in the future is that as we see during the presentations, there are different, let's say, evolution stage for the reporting, depending upon when they start and how much they start already with the same vision of Inspire. For the ones where it didn't happen, just as several from the assistants from the audience already said, it's important that let's say it goes into the same direction of reporting. For do not ask member states to do twice in different ways the same thing. So also there, wherever the reporting, let's say, flow, or not flow, but okay, the way of reporting is still under, let's say, shaping, under evolution, it's also important to keep this collaboration to streamline as soon as possible to avoid the applications and to go all in the same direction. And it brings also to the question that, to the remark of the colleague from Sweden, is once we know, once we have this step ready, knowing what is in the implementing rule and what stays in the on the technical guidelines. So once we have this first level of stability, meaning have implementing rule approved and all rest as on the technical guidelines, we are then in conditions to have an overall view what should be streamlined for each domain. And how it should be streamlined should be of the responsibility of these technical groups that are in support of these thematic directives. And so we cannot say within Inspire what should be reported and the frequency. But if we keep this collaboration, we have more possibilities that they go all in the same direction. And in that sense, I think it's very important. And just to say that we are happy to learn from you that it's the direction of the data specification at that stage goes in the good direction. When I said that the Inspire committee that we are confident that we are going to take into consideration in all thematic working groups the comments we received and take the necessary measures to go into that direction. Now, it's good to know that at the end, the thematic working groups were able to go into that direction, and it goes in the direction we were also expecting from us. So, thank you.
Thanks, Wanda. Okay, there's another comment, conclusions.
Okay. I want to underline what the French colleague said, because I was the colleague next to him who was also optimistic with the workshop today. At first, thank you very much for organizing this workshop. I'm more confident as the last committee meeting in December, and it's very good and helpful for us to discuss the relation between the Inspire implementing rules and the thematic reports. It's very good to hear that you divided the data model in the core model and the technical guidance documents, so it's very helpful for us, I say only contaminated sites. Second one, thank you very much for having the opportunity to participate at the internal review for data specifications. Germany sent you in the last days 2 remarks from our experts with very positive signals. What is very good, was it positive, but some remarks of what could be better. And we have a working group for soil and water issues, and who sent you yesterday, I think so, some remarks. Please give short feedback what you think about these remarks. Thank you.
Okay, thanks very much. We'll try to get back as soon as we can with some short feedback on that. Any other, comments?
Probably a few additional remarks. First of all, we appreciate that really the geo definitions within Inspire are really going leaner than they were originally. I think it will help to maintain stability. And stability in this reporting process is really a crucial thing. It's really the experience that normally you need 2 or 3 rounds of reporting until you really see a good development in the data quality. The first 2 rounds you're just working on delivering data, and then you start really to work on delivering proper data. So that's an important point. Also, thank you to give the opportunity to discuss the interlinkages between the reporting processes, so data transfer processes for specific purposes to European institutions and the generic Inspire concept, which helps to make geo-related data better availability. And I think putting both things together will help to improve transparency of all our work, and that's a very good thing in my opinion. Thank you.
Thanks very much. Alex?
Thank you. Really echoing quite a few of the positive comments, certainly vast improvements from where we were in December. Particularly just picking up what some other people have said, I think we still need to see some transition plan for the other directives. So in terms of getting a timeline of when we should expect to see some of the other directives come into line with particularly the sort of aspects within Annex 3, so we can actually start at a member state level trying to align ourselves a little bit more. And sort of picking up from some of the comments come out really today is it does look like there's a need to formalise the links between Inspire and some of the existing reporting groups. So I guess that's something back to the Commission side, is actually can we look at formalising some of those links within those groups?
Well, thank you for these very positive comments so far. Your observations are absolutely correct, I would say. If I think back of the work that we are doing with the EEA, the Inspire at EC project, for example, gradually integrating the Inspire data specifications and models into the reporting systems is something where the EEA will also play a very crucial role. I just had a look at the reporting sheets for the 2012 Marine Strategy Framework Directive reporting. And again, I already noticed in these reporting sheets, which are basically fresh from today, already a lot of linkages, and I see Daria looking at me with the data specifications that we have on this area. So this is again a test case alike for the air quality, where we immediately need to interact with the group as we are doing now. Now on the sorry, the French comments have been removed there, but doesn't really matter. You also mentioned whether data is validated or not, or agreed on by a member state. I'm not totally sure I fully understand. I assume that you want to have a kind of a validation indicator whether a member state agrees on a certain value to be used, or what are we talking about here?
No, we just said that there are networks of stations, for example, in the air quality field, which are agreed by the state. So we don't cut some data on this sort of thing, but we say if we have data from this station followed the method of what we have to do. So in an agreed network, at national level, for example, in France, but it could be in a region network in other countries, of course, we say we are sure that these data are conformed with some agreed method in European countries. On the other side, we have sometimes operated by the same association in France, other stations. We didn't agree for X or other reason. That's not the question. But this data of these stations, not in agreed network, is very different on a qualitative point of view, in a reporting point of view, of course. So when we have data from a town or association of quality of air, of this sort of thing, we have to be able, and it's a very strong requirement, to spare data from agreed stations and data from not agreed stations. It's not about data itself, it's about the whole quality control of the station, method of positioning the station in a town, for example. You know, it's very important to be sure it's not in a very quiet area or a too polluted area.
Thank you for clarifying that point. Now, maybe this data that you have not agreed on at the country or station that you have not agreed on, it may well be that this data does not have to be reported or disseminated to a higher level of government, as you are not using it for any particular, there's no law governing it, and as such it would fall outside of the scope of INSPIRE. You may want to look if that station is a voluntary initiative, not covered by legislation, and then, of course, the problem would not present itself.
Yes, but as you know, we have to open our networks to third parties. So if we have only the ask of the administration of air quality, for example, is to have only agreed networks in INSPIRE. Today, when I've heard some speeches, I think we can't be sure that other networks can't be proved, placed in organizations, in INSPIRE infrastructure. So I think it will be careful. It will be good to be able to share the things, to be able to manage what happened in the next years.
Okay, I think that is something that we can discuss with the EF group to see if we can add something there. Well, unless you have already discussed it, but I think this is a quite a detailed question that we can have a look at afterwards. Any other comments from the more quiet participant, maybe? Kathleen.
Thank you very much. So sorry, I would like to add only one idea concerning this, whether data is official or issued by authorities or by volunteer organizations. So maybe it's an idea how to handle this data that, for example, it's possible to include in the metadata element different indicators for the users. For example, one possible indicator for the user is the usability, or another indicator for the user is conformity. And the conformity can be, on one hand, conformity with the INSPIRE regulation, but you can also declare conformity according to some national regulation. And this already makes a kind of orientation for the users. So if you declare that some data set or measurements are conformed with a certain national piece of law or a certification procedure, it already orients the user in the right direction. So it's up to you how many metadata elements you wish to publish for the users. There is no limitation on this.
When I was talking about that, it was not in my mind an additional attribute to the feature type, but to an additional field in metadata. But it's not very important. But to declare conformity isn't sufficient, because when we talk about agreed network, we put a stamp, we put a stamp on the station position, so in the data measured by the station. It's very strong things, and it's not sufficient to declare itself we are okay. We want to say this one we agreed it, this one we haven't agreed it. So we are okay that the networks itself, the association, the institution, say I'm agreed because we are in the field of confidence. But it's different to be conformed with.
One more sentence. What we are talking about, this is perhaps the certification procedure. So that certified that the data is what you agreed with. It's again, it can be published as a metadata element. This information about this possible certification.
Okay, I think we need to move on because we have about 5 minutes left before we need to move to any other business. And since you are staying here until 4:45, maybe we can take that after the end of the workshop. Okay. Not on this one, please, because I just wanted to give the other participants who have not said anything or much today to give us a feedback as well. Anyone? No, that wasn't directed at you. Okay.
Sorry, I have a wish, not a dream. I have a wish. Please, someone have to tell to TWG what is in Inspire and what is not in Inspire. I'm afraid when I hear experts talking about what they are working about, that some things, some feature type, are obviously not in Inspire field following legal directive, but nobody told them that this is not in the field of Inspire directive. So please, you have to explain what is the frame of Inspire to some TWG, because I'm afraid that in the next committee regulation meeting, we have to explain that we can't adopt the rules because there is some things that are not in the scope.
Well, I'm sorry, we cannot change the legislation. The legislation is clear. It has the 32 data teams, and there's a wealth of data underneath. So basically these experts have been looking at use cases and they have been working on data specifications. Now there's a big difference between data under Inspire or not under Inspire and the attributes and the other elements which are in the data specifications. You may be referring to the case of telecommunication facilities, for example, which indeed during the negotiation on the Inspire directive was taken out of the scope. Now, if the working group looking at these kind of use cases say, well, for example, for a natural disaster scenario, it's very important that this kind of information is available and can be shared between all the different authorities which will intervene. They want to model that. It's clear. Why not benefit from this and make clear also in the statement that it's legally not covered by Inspire. It will certainly not end up in the legal part. But these experts are people which we and I personally respect enormously, because they are indeed looking at all these different use cases well beyond reporting. And I think these efforts should be respected as well. So we are not going to tell them in detail or say, oh, no, this needs to be removed from Inspire because of this or that. We will afterwards see with the committee what is acceptable, what is feasible, what can be left in guidelines or not. This is work for the months to come.